Welcome back to From Corporate to Cashflow. We are Andrea Cannon and Liz Schwab, two pharmacists navigating the process of building time and financial freedom through real estate investing and lending while working our day jobs. Navigating the journey is difficult, but our podcast guests are experts in showing us how it's done. And today we have Gina Weibel. Gina, thanks so much for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes, Gina, very excited to hear more about your journey. So, with that, we would love to hear a little bit about how you first got started in real estate and kind of what your journey has looked like and what you're focusing more so on today.
Oh, fantastic. I've had an interesting life with a bunch of different things that I've been involved in. I have my master's degree in materials engineering. So, for a short period of time, I worked in that field. And then I had 4 kids. And while I was raising my kids, I did not want to be doing engineering. So, I ran my own music school and swimming school. So, I was the boss of my own businesses and had some employees. And the great news is that all of my kids are fantastic at swimming and music. So it was kind of beneficial. Then, when they got to be high school and college age, and also COVID was there to nudge transitions, I kind of put those things to bed and I wanted to get back to some kind of career where I could be a little more involved and I could maybe have a little bit more income to build a nest egg for retirement. And I looked at getting back into engineering, and I have a friend who said she would hire me, but she said, you're going to start at the bottom of the ladder and you're going to have to climb. And that was absolutely not appealing. Similarly, I looked at different tech jobs, again, entry level. And then I kind of zoomed in on real estate because you can build a company, you can be your own boss, and you can go at whatever pace. You don't have to follow somebody else's plan. And there was 1 year in there when I was a project manager for a septic engineering company. So I learned a bit about project management and SOPs and CRMs. So a lot of different steps to get where I am today, but it worked out.
Yeah, it's funny because when we ask this question, it's like people are either like, no, I absolutely cannot work for someone else. This was never going to work for me. Like, I need to go into real estate. Or you have people who are like, yeah, I mean, I can do it for a few more years and just see what happens. Then I'll begin to transition. But it sounds like it was like very apparent to you, like, where you're like, yeah, I think I'm just going to go into real estate and do like my own business now.
After owning my own businesses for 20 years, it was painful to go be an employee. And I, my biggest crime, what do they call it? My toxic habit or my toxic weakness.
Toxic trait, or sure,
My
yeah.
toxic trait at work was noticing that the SOPs were weak and then fixing them when people didn't really want that to be my job. And I was like, I am here to manage it and it's bad, so I'm fixing it. And as an owner, that's what you do. But as an employee, you shut up and be quiet and only do what you're asked and stay in your box, apparently. And it's not going to work for me. So it didn't last very long, but they want to sell that company in a few years. And so it gave me the perspective that actually on my potential bucket list, I feel like I could purchase a septic engineering and installation company if I ever wanted to. And there's a whole bunch of a whole bunch of verticals that could be incorporated. It's like 5 to 7 businesses in one. So it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And I also think those employees that are working a W-2 and, in your situation, like, well, you are paying me to make things better and like I'm identifying these problems, but you don't want me to do them. Those make for excellent entrepreneurs because you're already proactively trying to find all the problems and you're doing it yourself and you don't have anyone to stop you from improving things. So I think that's great. It's a great natural transition into that. And so, what are you focusing on now, though, specifically within real estate?
Well, perfect. Right now, I do several things, but my biggest one that I've put the brunt of my time and energy in is a company called Easy Dwell, and we have 5 general partners working together on this. We purchase single-family homes subject to the existing mortgage, so that's step 1. And I'll pause for just a second because not everybody might understand these nuanced terms that I throw out. Subject to means the seller was probably in pre-foreclosure or foreclosure. And they put their house on the market to sell it, and nobody was willing to pay full price, but they need full price because they have arrears to pay the bank, maybe $10,000 or $15,000 or more to pay the bank. Nobody is willing to pay that. So they have had zero success selling their house. Eventually, probably a wholesaler contacts them and says, I can give you full price for this house if you're willing to let the buyer take your mortgage, keep it in your name, and they will pay it every month until it's paid off, which will take 25 years. And the seller just wants to escape from foreclosure, so they're okay with this. So they walk away with nothing, or maybe $5,000 to help them move. They usually don't have any equity in the house at all, which is why they weren't really making any success on the sale. So they walk away and have a fresh start. Meanwhile, our company now owns the house and we're paying 3% interest rate on the loan. The homes that we buy are always currently in the state of Florida, but we will eventually branch out to other states. But we have 3-bedroom, 2 baths, 1,000 square feet, no repairs needed. It's already livable. We avoid flood zones. So it's very similar houses. They are vanilla starter homes that a lot of different types of families could move into. So now that we have these homes and are very happy, we could rent them out. And if we rented them, we could get cash flow, but we would have to manage the property, and we don't want to do that. So instead, we sell them, but we sell them in a type of seller finance. So the most common type of seller finance would be to give a buyer a mortgage and tell them, I will be your bank. I will give you a mortgage. You will pay me every month. And after 30 years, you'll have paid off your loan. So in that situation where I'm paying a bank, but I'm also acting like a bank to someone else, that's called a wrap, or a wraparound mortgage. Where the person that I'm selling to, I can charge them 10% rate or 11% rate, depending on what the numbers come out to be. And then they pay me, I turn around and pay the underlying bank, and it leaves me $800 to $1,000 a month just income for me for playing the role of bank. So that's a traditional wrap. Should I keep going? We don't quite do a traditional wrap. We've made it a little bit more creative.
Yeah, let's hear the creative one. And then maybe if you could give an example with like numbers, just to like make it all kind of come together.
Absolutely, because the numbers are very similar from house to house to house. Okay, so as in the story that I just told, the reason that the buyer wants to buy a house from us is because they can't get a loan from a bank. Usually the reasons are one of two things. One, they don't have very good credit. Some of these people have been through a divorce, and something happening in the divorce wrecked their credit. One time I had a grandma who had signed on a loan with her son, and he bought a car and then let the car get repossessed, and it ruined her credit. And so she kind of didn't realize that that all happened, but she's like, how can I get a bank loan now? I want to buy a house and move to be near my grandson and all these things. And there are various other reasons why people have bad credit, but we have a finance call with them. They have steady income. They have money for a down payment, like a 10% down payment. So we want to work with them. The second reason is that they might not have a W-2, and that's pretty common. Actually, I would say 80 to 90% of our buyers are self-employed small business owners. So if they're doing a fantastic job on paper, they deduct a lot of expenses, and their home is an expense and their car is an expense. And so much of what they do in their daily life is part of their business, and it's an expense. So their on paper income is not always impressive, and the bank doesn't want to give them a loan, but they can show us their cash flow from their business, and we would love to work with them and sell them a home. And another thing about getting a bank loan is your debt to income ratio. We've sold to at least a couple of nurses who have a new job at a hospital, and they have a family and they wanted to live in this nice house right by the hospital, but they have student debt. And so a bank won't give them a loan until they pay down their student debt or till they have the job for at least 2 years. So these are some of the people we work with. I've also sold second homes to at least 2 different car dealership owners from other states who just want a Florida home to come to. I don't know why car dealerships from other states seem to be attractive, but that's the thing. And I've also sold multiple homes to military families who get money every month as part of their benefits from retirement from the military. Excuse me, I have a dry throat, and I'm not sure why that's not working so well on the bank loan, but it's not W-2 income. So banks are finicky about what they're going to approve. And I think that money from the government to someone who's retired in the military, I'm like, what could be more stable than that? So those are most of the people that we're selling to. Now, you might ask, and this, or you should ask as an investor, if a bank is unwilling to give these people a loan because the bank thinks they're too risky, why should we give them a loan? Indeed, we don't want to, because the chances are high that we would have to foreclose on them. So there are some workarounds where you can do this type of financing and not have to give them the deed so that you don't have to foreclose on them to get the deed back. There's one strategy called contract for deed, but Florida doesn't have that. It's not allowed in Florida. In some states, you can do contract for deed where the person buying the home has to pay it off completely before they get the deed in their name. In the meantime, the deed is held in some other entity. And that makes it easier for you to evict them, and you don't have to foreclose to get the deed back. Well, in Florida, that's not allowed. So we had a real estate lawyer who's also the vice mayor of Miami create for us a legal structure that works and gives us kind of the same result. What we do is we take the deed and we put it into an LLC, like 123 Main Street, whatever the address of the house is. And we tell the buyer that they will be business partners with us and they are going to invest in real estate with us. And they give us a 10% down payment and we give them shares of the house. So now they own part of a business. Technically, we didn't sell them a house. We sold them shares of a business and we became partners and we have an operating agreement. Part of the operating agreement is, since you own those shares, you own that percentage of whatever the business owns. The business only owns one thing, it's a house. And in the operating agreement, it states that they get to live in the house and modify it if they want, but they're also responsible to take care of it and maintain it as if they were an owner. It's all the rights and privileges that an owner normally has. And every month they pay us money, which covers the taxes and insurance, and then also money to buy more shares. And they will keep doing that for 30 years until they own the entire business, and then they can dissolve the business if they want to. So in this way, if they default and don't send their monthly payment, we don't have to foreclose to get the deed back. The deed is still in the LLC. But what we can do is eject them from the LLC and eject them from the house, and they will lose their shares that they bought as stated in our operating agreement. So it feels very similar to a foreclosure, but technically there never was a loan. The good news is if they need to just up and walk away, they will not have a foreclosure or a bad credit score. It will not affect their credit. And they like that this, regardless of what happens, it's never going to hurt your credit. It also doesn't build credit, but at least they have the freedom that it's not going to hurt their credit. So that is our unique structure that we put together for the state of Florida. And in 2025, we bought and sold, or stabilized, I should say, 50, about 50 of these properties with families. So you asked about numbers. The average value of the homes is $250,000 to $350,000 is the value that we sell it at. The average down payments are $20,000, sometimes $25,000. And the average cash flow per month is $700 to $800.
Oh, okay. So I have a few questions. So the first one is, why Florida?
Good. That is a good question. We wanted to just pick a place a little bit randomly, but a place where there would be a high volume of deal flow and buyers available. And looking at, where can sub to wholesale deals be picked up, Florida was a highlight. So 2 years ago, when this started, Florida was just chosen. And then finding a lawyer to work with who put that together for us. And then we were hit the ground running. But I live in Seattle. And so we have 5 partners. I live in Seattle. I have another partner who lives south of me in Washington, another partner who lives in California, a additional partner that lives in California. And then out of the 5 of us, only one lives in Florida. And he is actually a realtor, the number 18 realtor in the country. And all of the process that we do, we can usually do without having to go to the property, believe it or not. So we forced ourselves to build a system that we can scale because we don't have to be there. So we could go into another state and replicate, how do you find people over the phone to go and do little things for you to get everything done. So really quickly, we usually buy from a wholesaler. They've already got photos of the house and the numbers look good, so we're interested. So we have a general contractor walk through the house really quickly. We pay him a few bucks and he just confirms that it's livable, or he'll say there's one piece of drywall that needs fixing or one toilet, something minimal, or maybe he'll say like, yeah, we should paint it. Based on that, we go ahead and get it under contract. Then we send a inspector to do an actual inspection. Based on that, we go ahead and buy the house. Then we immediately send a locksmith to put a key code on the door or a lockbox and cameras. And then we quickly have a cleaner go in, a yard person go in, maybe that general contractor goes back to do a little painting if needed. And then we have all of those people, whenever they do something, they take videos and photos and just send it back to us to show that they've done the work, and we pay them. And we have a team of VAs that arrange all of this, and they've made it an SOP that once we buy a house, boom, 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 they go through this list and they get all these things done. Then when the house is ready to be shown, we list it on the MLS. Our partner that's the realtor does that as seller financed. People can start walking through the house. If they're just self-represented, they use the keypad, they get in, they walk around, they like it. Then we have a Zoom call with them to discuss financing and to explain the program. And if they like it, they can sign the documents. We take down the cameras and they're in the house. And that can all happen really fast. And we don't even have to really go there. So that doesn't explain specifically why Florida, but the point is we wanted a state that was not our state. We don't want to be tied to only doing projects in states where we live. It is kind of important to have at least a couple of people like the lawyer and at least one realtor on the ground in that state. But there you go. Florida has historically had a lot of deal flow and a lot of wholesalers locking up these deals. Unfortunately, though, in the past couple of weeks, there were a couple of newsworthy subto purchasers who were bad actors who kind of give subto a bad name. So we have to do more of the deals direct to the agent ourselves because wholesalers are less excited about getting those under contract and selling them to us. Not us particularly. We have never not paid the bank. That's pretty fundamental to our business plan, is that we must pay the bank. But there have been a few other operators that bought huge numbers of subto deals and then just let them get foreclosed on. That's a terrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, these bad actors will ruin such a good thing for everyone. So it's a bummer to hear that, because obviously those sellers were counting on the buyer to actually perform and to make those payments because they were in foreclosure most likely or close to it. And this person was supposed to be helping them out. So that's a bummer that happened, but it's good that you.
And also the investors who gave this person the money to set something up that was going to cash flow and they never set it up. So the investor's money was lost.
That is,
Um, and I told you we did 50 deals in the past year, and those were all done with investors. We have two structures. One is an investment club. The club is what buys the deals and stabilizes them. In the clubs, we bring people like you, usually professionals that want cash flow from real estate. Could be a rental, could be something else, but they don't want to have to go do all the
yeah.
work of finding the place and finding the renter and collecting the payments and evicting if needed. And I'm like, guess what? I'll do all of that. You can be my partner. So I say, would you like to own some wraps? Let's just do it together. So I pool together $500,000. It's usually 5 people. And then we can usually buy 8 to 10 houses with that much money.
Oh, nice.
And we stabilize all those houses. And then we give a percentage of the down payment to those investors. And then it's right now, the numbers change depending on which club, but right now it's 20% of the down payment and then 80% of the cash flow to the investors. And so I get the other percentage as my share of the partnership, and you get 80%. And we just hold that property and it cash flows. Eventually, we also have a 506c fund coming down the pipeline, and the fund will buy out the clubs. So the club is more for people who want cash flow now, who want it to be only a few years long, and who, they don't want to be too committed, but they want to get some cash flow and experience. And we have meetings so you can see what we're buying and how we're operating, things like that. In the fund, we don't pay monthly distributions. We compound the growth, and the returns end up being better in the fund because we take your cash flow to buy more houses. So the number of houses keeps growing and growing and growing.
That's really cool. And how long is the holding time typically in between when you're purchasing the house from the wholesaler or from the agent to when you're selling it to the end buyer?
Our average is like 80 to 85 days. So almost 3 months to find a buyer. I know there are other operators who do wraps who find a buyer before they commit to buying any given wrap. We can tell a good deal when we see one. And because we have our agent who's a team member, he has a good nose for what will sell. And so if it's a good one that will sell, we will just go ahead and buy it. And we know that within a few months, we can find someone.
That's awesome.
But yeah, there are people out there who do it where they get the buyer before they commit to the house. But I'm afraid I would lose deals if I did that.
Yeah. Is it all over Florida or just like a specific county?
It's all over. But if you go to our website, easydwell.com, and you have to spell it out, EASY, dwell.com, it has a map. And if you click on the status, you can see what's currently available for sale with seller finance. And if you click sold, you can see what we've previously sold and exactly what cities did well. So places that have a flood zone, we usually avoid. And then Miami and Orlando and Kissimmee, we don't have any houses there because it's outside of our price range. We like the PITI to be 2,300, 2,200 and less.
Okay.
What we found is houses where the PITI is $5,000 still generate $700 a month of cash flow as the house that has a PITI of $800. So I'm like, we'd rather keep it. And since we have to hold them for several months, and if we do an eviction, then we have to hold it for a few months. We're going to keep paying the bank. So I don't want a very large PITI. And the business owners that we're buying from, I think they would probably buy in those cities, but we've had good success in the more 250 to 350 price range. So that's kind of our sweet spot for our business.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thinking about this journey so far, what do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned along the way?
Oh, golly, that's hard. What is the biggest lesson? I think I'll give props to my teammates. we have, as I mentioned, we have the 5 core teammates, but then we also have like at least 10 employees. A lot of them are VAs who get the stuff done. You can't do a really large scale operation without bringing in a bunch of people and like an assembly line, giving tasks to each person to just get really good at their task. And then on the other side of it, you could run this whole operation with just like 1 or 2 people, but we wouldn't go this fast. So I guess it's worthwhile to choose. Do you want to go fast and bring a lot of people with you? Or do you want to go slow and small, but keep all of the proceeds just for yourself? So you have a choice, and they're both fine.
Yeah, that's a really good lesson though. And I think finding those teammates is a really key thing too, right? And it sounds like you guys have all developed a good relationship to kind of build that so far. So that's
Well,
really
we
awesome.
come and go. I mean, there's a lot of push and pull because we have different strengths.
Mhm.
And so we need each other, but we also have really different viewpoints. So it's probably healthy
Yeah.
to have people in there who can navigate the things that I don't want to navigate, but then they would not be good at doing what I do. So we need each other. And sometimes I hate that.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I know you've not been that much in the W-2 world, but W-2 and, being an entrepreneur are very different things. And I almost feel like I already know your answer to this, but I'm curious if I'm going to be right. So I'm curious what habits and routines you've developed to stay productive and focus on your goals as a business owner and now as a person who is a partner with 4 other people.
What if I give something that's unexpected and not the normal? Because other people probably have the same habits and routines. First of all, when I thought about what it would be like to have wealth and to have a rich life, some of the things that are really, really important to me are being able to eat healthy food and being able to exercise every day and do the types of exercise that I like, and being able to play music every day. Even though I don't have my music school, I'm still a musician. So I carve out for myself time to go to the gym and time to cook my own meals from scratch. And that's non negotiable. And if I do those things and take care of my physical self, then I can be present for all this other stuff. If you don't have your health, you can't have any wealth. So you have lots of problems in business, but as soon as you are sick, you only have one problem, and that's trying to get well. So make sure you have that foundational. So that's my first thing. And then I think I have a little bit of ADHD. So I'm not unhappy. I think it's a superpower at times. But for myself, I know that a lot of people have worked on calendaring, and I try to do it too, where you block off every 15 minutes of your day. If I give myself tasks to do every single minute of the day, I will hate the calendar, I will throw it away, and I will refuse to do anything that day. So I've learned that about myself. There's a book by Gretchen Rubin. It's called Better Than Before. And she talks about building habits, but catering to your personality type, because not all productivity habits work with all personality types. So for me, I like to set a list of intentions, which are good things that I would like to get done and that I know are important. And I have that list available, but I don't schedule exactly what time or when they're going to happen, unless, of course, if it's an appointment with somebody, I'll show up. But when I sit down to work, I'll say, here are the things that are needed. Which one speaks to me that I feel I would have so much energy and excitement around doing? And I want to do that one. And I do that one. And when I am able to focus in the zone of genius at the time when it comes, it turns out so good. But if someone else grabs me from doing what I'm interested in doing and says, you have to do this other thing, I just have a really hard time getting myself interested. Today, I spent time on 2 small projects with our buyers who buy these homes. We have to educate them about what we're doing because it's not a mortgage. So I put together these information packets, one for the buyers that we already have and one for the buyers that we are onboarding. And I included some documents where they have to like confirm that they understand this isn't a mortgage, sign your initials. I'm buying shares, sign your initials. I can't take tax benefits on paying interest because I didn't pay any interest, sign your initials. Like we've had a few people after they bought a house reach out to us and go like, how do I take this interest deduction? And we're like, you can't. So now I'm solving that problem. That's what I was excited about. And so I sat down and just did it. And every day there's different things to get done. And if I attack the ones I'm most excited about, it turns out really good. And in the end, everything seems to get done. I'm just not a person who can give myself an exact list of what I'm going to do and follow through.
Yeah, it's always funny when we talk about this topic because I feel like certain things are like pushed by society, right? Like time blocking and like put this on your calendar and have all the notifications, right? But the reality is, to your point, that not everyone thinks the same way and we all have different personalities. And so we may not all respond to maybe that type of scheduling, right? I know if I get too many alerts on my phone, I just want to like, this scene from like Office Space, really take the computer out in the field, just beat it with a bat and just like destroy it. That's how I feel when I get like it's like ping, 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 like do this next, then this. I'm like, okay, cool. So I totally agree with you. I totally get what you're saying, that everyone's just different and like you need to do what works for you. And if like you're laser focused on something, maybe you just want to finish it. You don't want to like stop and then move on to a different project. So I hear you on that. I hear you. And then something else that I wanted to pick your brain on. Obviously, you talked about the experience of like how if you don't have a W-2 that maybe it's like a little bit, I'm not a W-2, yeah, that it's harder to get like good credit and to purchase a house, which is something that I never thought about before, right? Until I started getting into real estate. I was like, well, why wouldn't you be able to get a how like qualify for a home? I'm super confused. Like that doesn't
So
even make sense
right
to me.
now, I live in a rental property and the landlord just told me that they're selling the house and they're kicking us out. And I'm very sad about it because this is a gorgeous, gorgeous house in a great neighborhood. And so I am searching for other rentals to move into. And I am having the weirdly hard time getting approved to rent a house because they always want to use taxes or a W-2 statement. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't have a W-2 statement, first of all. And when I show you my taxes, my income looks low because I did a great job and I deducted a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
So I'm like, the president of the country and some of our favorite leaders in real estate also couldn't rent if you keep demanding taxes to be the thing. But the property management company is very narrow. They just have an SOP, which is I look at your taxes and I make a decision. And I'm messaging them and I'm saying, hey, here's my bank account. Here's my
Hmm.
business bank account. These numbers are large. Will you please rent to me? And I don't know if I'm going to get the place I want. I'm in the
Yeah,
same
it's
boat as my buyers. It's
yeah.
infuriating.
It's a weird thing to think about, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I make good money, but I can't necessarily show what you want to see on like my tax returns and like since I don't have a regular W-2, right? So it's like a weird psychological thing that it's
Right.
like you're saying one thing, but you're also telling me no, even though I have money and I can pay for this. So it's an interesting situation to be in. Certainly hope that you can find a good rental to go into.
Me too.
But this also just serves the point of like why we need people to market houses to these individuals, right? Who don't have other options. And so there's definitely a market for these individuals.
We have
So I just,
about 30 families in line to buy who've told us if you get a house in such and such a city, I'll buy it. So we have, as soon as we get houses, it's pretty quick.
yeah. So that's blows my mind really. Like I said, because it's just not something that I ever thought about before. Kind of like out of sight, out of mind, right? Like you have a W-2, this like here's my tax return, you can get a house. So you don't really think about the other individuals that aren't really in that same situation. So I just think it's important that people understand the different scenarios and different markets for different individuals. And where I'm going with this is that I think that's an important piece of information just for real estate investors and people that are maybe considering going into real estate, just so that they understand the different dynamics. But what I wanted to ask you is based off your whole journey and all the experience that you have like learned, and I know we were talking about before how you're like, no, I want to be like, I want to run my own business. I don't want to work for someone else. So what if like you are an individual who is newly starting their financial independence journey and maybe they're like, I really don't want to work for an employer for the rest of my life. Like what types of financial advice would you give them in about like 30 seconds to really get going?
Well, if you want it to be real estate specific, a lot of people just say do your diligence, meaning be careful who you invest with. Check to see that this person has a track record, check to see that they've been following through, do a background check on them, look to see if they have any outstanding lawsuits, go in public forums and ask other people if they've heard of them and if there's any bad news about them. Ask for referrals from other people they've worked with or borrowed money from. I bring all those things up because when I was new, I did private money lending, and I still do from time to time, and I invest in some other projects. And beginners are not necessarily trying to be malicious, but they will lose your money just as quickly as thieves.
Yeah.
So watch out. So that's why with this company, I tell people, yes, we've bought 60 properties and we stabilized all of them. So the record is there. And to our investors, on average, we paid out 16% cash on cash last year. So I'm like, you know, the evidence is there that we're performing on what we're trying to do. Yeah. I'm in a community where there are always lots of beginners and they all seem so nice. And I want to give all of them money. And then it's scary because a fair number of them don't really know what they're doing. So be careful of the incompetent people are just as dangerous
Yeah.
as malicious people.
Yeah. Like your first flip, the people that are, I'm going to do my first flip and I'm looking for a private money lender. I'm like, that is not me. Like, I will not be the one loaning you any money. I'm excited for you. You should ask your friends and family. It will not be me. Because that first time, I mean, it's so, precarious as to whether or
I
not you.
often tell the very first timers, I'm like, you need to bring in a partner who's going to do it with you. And you guys can split the work 50-50. And if that partner has done a whole bunch of flips, then they won't mind, kind of coaching you and being present. One of the things when someone was borrowing for a flip, I caught on early on that the general contractor was really driving all the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't know how to talk to him. She didn't know how to vet him. She was just letting him basically do it. And I couldn't loan her money because I was like, you do not have the right relationship with a contractor. He's acting like it's his project and you need it to be your project. So I'm not going to loan you the money. But if she brought in someone who was experienced, I think they would have known how to manage that relationship better. And they could have taught her and she could have got it done. Maybe she did. I just wasn't the one that funded it. So that's
Yeah.
just one example.
No, that's some great advice. I mean, I think we all need to hear that. 'Cause, I mean, preservation of your capital is the most important thing. So, yeah, no, that's super helpful. So, me and Liz have a goal of traveling and getting outside and exploring the outdoors alongside our wealth building journey. Not something that we're going to do at the very end, like when we retire, but really along the way. So, we're curious to hear if you have any upcoming bucket list travel that you're really looking forward to in the next couple of years?
Oh, interesting. I just went on a Mediterranean cruise in October and saw a bunch of places that I hadn't been before. But I like to go back to um, Cozumel and do scuba diving when I get a chance. So if you haven't gone scuba diving in Cozumel, I feel like you should do it quickly while the reefs still have some fish. I hate to say it, but they get worse all the time. So perhaps I will do some scuba diving in Australia or New Zealand, but I don't have it on my calendar yet, but it's something that I'm interested in.
New Zealand sounds nice. I'll go ahead and I'll pick it for you. You should go there.
Okay. Okay. It's a long way to travel, so I haven't committed to that yet.
Have you been there before though?
No, I never have. So
Oh, okay. No,
Australia
you should definitely go there. Yes.
places to visit, but also when I'm there, I want to make scuba diving part of the trip.
Yeah, yeah. We picked that over Mexico. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. You don't need a travel agent. I just
You've already been to Cozumel? It's boring. It's no longer interesting.
No, it's not. No, it's not boring. We think. I like how I'm including Andrea in my statement. She can speak for herself. I really enjoyed New Zealand, and I think it's a wonderful
Oh.
area. It's beautiful, and I actually wanted. Maybe it's because I really just didn't like my job at the time, but I really wanted to quit and move to New Zealand right after I went there. So,
Amazing.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
been twice, so I would highly recommend it. I just went again for the second time in November, so I'm a
Well,
huge
it's on my list, so I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's on my list.
Yeah, you'll get there. You'll get there. So, going back to your like creative wraparounds, I know you had mentioned that you work with wholesalers. Do you have like a go-to like list of wholesalers, or could anyone potentially reach out if they find properties that they could maybe wholesale to you in Florida, or what does that look like?
Anyone can reach out. So our acquisitions at easydwell.com is where you would send a deal to, and we would buy it. And it's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, subto in Florida. Doesn't need very many repairs. PITI 2400, 2300 and less, something like that. And we would love to look at those deals. We do have wholesalers that we go to over and over, but as I mentioned, some wholesalers are starting to go cash only and stop doing creative after the excitement of the past few months in Florida, which just means that now I'm trying to call more direct agent calls to lock up those deals that otherwise are just going to go into foreclosure if nobody calls.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, if there's any wholesalers out there, I think now is a really good opportunity to go scoop up a bunch of deals in Florida because people are just dropping the ball and leaving Florida or just going to cash only.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. So I know you gave that was the email address that you gave, or
Yes,
is it a website?
that was
Okay.
acquisitions at easydwell.com is where we look at deals.
Okay.
If you want to reach me, I'm Gina, Gina, at easydwell.com. Or my personal email address is this is Gina, yes, at gmail.com. And if you say it fast, this is Gina, yes.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
So I have not started my band doing kids music, but it will be Gina Yes and the Smarty Pants. So that's my stage name for my kids band.
I love that. I'm going to say that very fast all the time. This is genius. I like that.
This is Gina Yes at gmail.com.
Oh, that's so cute. Well, thank you so much. I feel like I've learned a lot about this strategy. It's definitely a unique take on the strategy, which I really like because it protects you in Florida specifically. It's creative. You're helping people get into a house that wouldn't be able to get into it, otherwise. So it's just combining all the cool things that we've learned from creative finance and, putting it into a nice little package and presenting it. I absolutely love that. Like, what a cool strategy. Do you guys have goals for this year in your scaling? Are you moving to another
Yes.
market?
Well,
Or
and let me also add, you mentioned the seller is happy, the buyer is happy, and the investors are happy. So the
Yes.
investors who help us bridge that whole step get the bulk of 80% of the cash flow. So they get most of the cash flow. Yes, we are trying to scale. Last year we bought about one a week and we're maintaining that for now, but we would like to pick up the pace. Unfortunately, that might mean that we need to start a side team that does direct to agent in order to get the deals under contract. Because the wholesale deals, there's enough for us to find maybe one good one a week, but I don't know if we can find 2 a week or 3 a week or 4 a week unless we go out and get them under contract ourselves. So
Yeah.
we're looking at how to do that.
Awesome. Well, that is a potential opportunity, and it'll be interesting to see how you guys evolve from here. But
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on here because I feel like I've learned a lot about this strategy and about the opportunity, and like I said, and tying it all together so that everyone is happy in the process too. I mean, I think that that's the number one thing, that the whole ecosystem of people that you're touching, it's are benefiting and making money and getting themselves out of the foreclosure situation, right? Getting into a house when they couldn't get
Mhm.
into it before. So that's really awesome. So thank you so much for being on this week. We really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Yes. And then thank you everyone for listening to this week's episode of From Corporate to Cashflow. We will catch you next week. Hey, it's Andrea. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you liked it, I'd love it if you hit subscribe. Thanks so much.